What's up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. OG here, and I wanted to talk to you about a huge dilemma that FC is facing right now, and it is unprecedented, right? Because every year we do have a powerful meta, and sometimes it changes throughout the year, sometimes it stays pretty close to the same. However, since the introduction of the 4-2-1-3, which wasn't one of the traditional setups in Ultimate Team or even FIFA/FC as a whole, since they added it though, and Anders Vergame made it extremely popular because, let's be honest, at the beginning, 4-2-1-3 came, everyone looked at it and said, nah, not interested. And then Anders Vergame started lighting up with it, and boom, it became the one, the only meta formation. And the problem is this, it is so powerful that I don't see any other formation toppling it. So as long as it's in the game, a vast majority of the time, that is what you're going to see, which gets redundant, it can get boring, and it can really put a damper on what otherwise, in my humble opinion, is a very good football game. Now, just to get this out of the way, which if you follow my streams or my channel, you already know this. If not, I'm saying it is a very good football game from the perspective of a UFL/eFootball player. FC is miles above both of those, which have so many things wrong. A few things right, but so many things wrong. The main thing being a lack of content, but also a lot of gameplay issues as well. The list goes on and on. So from that perspective, if you were to just leave FC like I did and mainly play those two, or even just rotate between the three, you would see why I say this is such a good game. And I'm having an absolute blast, but I do see the potential for a long-term issue because of this 4-2-1-3. The bottom line is there are just so many options in the attack, and on the defensive side, it is extremely strong. So you aren't going to be able to choose another formation unless you decide you are fine with using a less powerful setup just to be different. Or on the content creator side, you're seeing it all over the place, where they rely on making these tactics videos. And if there's only one, then once you make it, you are done. So in many cases, you are seeing blatant lies where people are saying, use this, it is better than the 4-2-1-3. Or they're doing what I did, which is trying to find setups that can outplay the 4-2-1-3. Now the truth is this, nothing can truly outplay the 4-2-1-3. The closest that you will come is either the 4-2-3-1 wide or the 4-2-3-1 narrow, which will be very similar defensively, which that isn't the issue. It's in the attack. That is where the 4-2-1-3 reigns superior by a mile. Now, people are going to say, well, I beat the 4-2-1-3 all the time. Yes, we all do. That's because of, let's call it, user errors. You can't confuse that with being a superior setup, right? There's some players that you could beat with a 3-5-2, a 5-3-2, a whatever. That doesn't mean that those setups were great. It just means you were that much better than your opponent. When you look at equal players, or let's say around a similar ranking, and you go into a game, if one player has a 4-2-1-3, one player has any other setup, the 4-2-1-3 is going to be the difference maker. That's how you have to look at it when you are in those tight matches, those even matches, and every little chance counts. The 4-2-1-3 is just going to have so many more options, so much more of a deadly attack that you are going to suffer eventually. And so the problem is this, if this continues, what will come of FC? It is extremely boring using these same tactics over and over. I wouldn't say it's the most important part, right? Everyone loves the team building, just playing football, and you absolutely can play beautiful football in the 4-2-1-3, which is one saving grace. It isn't a boring meta. For instance, in the past, you had at one time the 5-4-1, the 4-5-1. You had just totally broken, clustered up defense. And then these formations and tactics that essentially fortified that. And that was the meta which made the game almost unbearable. At least in the 4-2-1-3 era, the attack is fun. You can score a lot of goals. And with the defense finally being fixed, being the most manual it has ever been, with that deadly attacking setup in the 4-2-1-3, it is surely going to be a goal fest many of the times. So that is the bright side of having this extremely powerful setup. But on the other side, the question is, when, if ever, will the 4-2-1-3 falter? Or at least be to the point where you can use other formations and tactical setups and still compete at the highest level and know that no matter what, you can go into a game and a formation or tactics aren't going to cost you. That has always been a big issue in FC no matter what the meta is. But now, with this 4-2-1-3, I believe it is the most powerful the game, the franchise has ever seen. And before we go into potential solutions, I want to talk about why this is the case. That has always been a big thing for me. The why is so important. One, so you can understand how to potentially beat it. Even if you are also using a 4-2-1-3, you have to be able to defend it. Or if you are able to defend it and you know what it's all about, you have a much better chance of being successful. And also, I want to be able to teach you guys so you don't have to look up my tactics or anybody else's tactics. That's the difference between me and a lot of these content creators is I don't want you just to rely on me or copy and paste everything that I give you. I want to actually teach you. That is the most fun part of this for me. The coaching aspect, similar to real life. So, the reason why the 4-2-1-3 is so powerful is because it gives you the most potent attack with a strong defense. You have your back four and the two CDMs. That is the most powerful you can get. Even more powerful than a 5-back because you solidify the central area, the most dangerous part of your opposition's attack with the two CDMs. So many of these other formations are powerful in the attack, but you sacrifice some on the defensive side. That isn't the case with the 4-2-1-3. And then on the attack, let's say you win the ball either with your defenders or your CDMs, you immediately have 4 players making the most dangerous runs you can make. Therefore, it is very easy to win the ball and play just one through ball in the air or a lot of times on the ground in the gaps. And you have a great chance of sending one of your 4 attackers through on goal. So it is extremely easy even for the noobs of the game. And then for the advanced players, it just takes a load off in the attack because they don't have to think as much. They can simply win the ball, press triangle or L1 triangle, shoot the ball, and that's it. Over and over and over again. And you absolutely see that to different levels of rat behavior, if you will. And what I mean by that is if you look at the setup I showed you at the beginning of the video, I have a shadow striker in the cam spot, 2 inside forwards on the wingers, and then the striker is an advanced forward. That makes all 4 of those players constantly making forward runs when you combine that with the counter setup. And then when you look at the depth, you have a variety of options there too, whether it's a balanced setup, high setup, or the most ratty, which is aggressive, 91 and higher depth, and that creates essentially the former days constant pressure type of defense where your players are just going to rush the opponent, try to not give them space, run into them, win the ball, and then you just spam through balls over and over and over. Now, obviously, skilled players would be able to constantly slice you up and get through on this. However, especially in the lower divisions, or if there is lag or inconsistent gameplay, which as we know is the one thorn, constant thorn besides this in FC side that's holding the game back from being truly great. Which means there will be many times if players utilize that aggressive line with this 4-2-1-3 setup, they're going to be able to rat their way to victories despite being the lesser skilled player. So what can be done about this? A lot of it will fall on EA Sports, but the first solution does fall on the player base, which is utilize the 4-2-1-3 in a way where you still play beautiful football. That is exactly what I am doing, and it can be a blast because you have that extremely strong defense, extremely strong offense. However, you are still passing and moving, playing some beautiful up, back, and throughs, give and goes, different passing sequences, and scoring amazing goals still without being a total rat. Now, as you can see in these highlights, playing good football in this setup is not only possible, but you can dominate with it. The problem is many opponents in this game, which we know there's a toxic vibe throughout the FC community, they're just going to choose to take the shortcut and play like rats with the 4-2-1-3. So even if you're playing beautiful football, you are no doubt going to face over and over again the ratty 4-2-1-3 style. That's just inevitable. And that can be just as boring as you playing this style over and over and over again if you're facing the same formation, the same tactics, and the same non-football ratty approach over and over and over again. That's where we have to hope that EA Sports will come in, recognize this, and make the necessary changes to either nerf the 4-2-1-3 and make other setups more viable, or totally remove it. Now, I doubt they will do that, similar to when the 5-back was broken and they left it in the game. Now, they removed it from professional competition, so I could see them at least making the 4-2-1-3 non-usable in professional competition. But that leaves a ton of the player base that also want to enjoy beautiful football, in a bad spot. Same way it was with the 5-back when, the pros could get on without it, but we all had to deal with playing against it over and over and over, and we either had to use it or just get dominated. So hopefully, if they do remove the 4-2-1-3 in the professional ranks, they would remove it for everybody else as well. But I don't believe that is the best solution, and I think that's why they didn't just totally eliminate 5-back, because it is super unrealistic, and it sends FC down a bad path just removing realistic things that don't work in the game. So the best option, and hopefully they have been working on this behind the scenes, would be to recognize why the 4-2-1-3 is so much more powerful than the other formations and the other tactics, and then nerf the things that make it the most powerful, because it just simply isn't realistic football. If you look at all the top teams in the world, they all have their own variations, their own formations, their own tactics, and they're all successful in their own ways. Nobody just plays the 4-2-1-3 and automatically dominates. That's just not the case. But what exactly would FC have to nerf in order to make the 4-2-1-3 not as viable? The number one thing, through balls. Why the 4-2-1-3 is the most dangerous is because you have the wingers and then the striker as well as the cam all making runs through the seams. So you have 4 backs, 2 CDMs, everyone's attacking up the pitch. As soon as you win the ball and those 4 players make attacking runs, which is fine, that's realistic. You can't nerf the runs that the players make or the AI movement, because that's the runs that they would make in real life. If you have those open seams, you're going to make those runs. What they can do, though, is make it more difficult to hammer those through balls, whether it's in the air or on the ground. It is much too easy. Now, I've played a game, UFL, where they have literally a pass lock system, let's call it. Every single pass just ping, 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 ping connects. And while FC has always had that as well, they have gone down several notches, and after seeing UFL, you can tell that FC could be much worse with automatically connecting passes, but they still aren't in a realistic spot with passing. It is much too easy to ping the ball around and connect passes. Not only do they need to lower the speed of the passes connecting, that is where eFootball does so well. If they didn't have all their nonsense, if they didn't sell out for greed, which is a whole nother talking point, then they would easily have the most realistic football game. So FC needs to take a note from them and lower the speed of play, lower the speed of passes to be more realistic, and they need to increase the difficulty of connecting passes, including, and really in particular, through balls. Not every single through ball can go in that perfect driven state right in the on-rushing attacker's path. Those passes actually take a lot more skill and are a lot more difficult. There are a lot more errors. That needs to be translated into the game, and the defenders, which this is the tricky part, need a better ability to intercept those passes. Now, you don't want to go down the slippery slope of making the defense totally AI controlled, but it just can't be so easy to slip the ball through those seams, run through those seams, and get chances on goal. It doesn't work that way in real life, and that's what EA Sports needs to truly focus on. I have no doubt that with their ability and what they've shown us, they can make these changes. They just have to put the effort in. That has been the biggest issue. Now, that goal you just see me score there, that is what I call a glitch shot. If you get to that certain angle, it is a higher percentage chance to score than many other areas, right? And we've seen that in the past. Luckily, we are down to just that shot. You will see it mainly in Trivelo form from that area all the time. You'll see players just go for that shot. You know, the rats that can't break down a defense, even though the defense is much more manual, much harder to beat. That's just the level of rats that are in this and every football game. But they absolutely need to focus on nerfing that shot. That's just a little side note that as I saw it, I wanted to bring up. That's literally the only one of those that I've ever scored. You can check me on that. Run a fact check on all my streams and all my videos. But I'm glad it was in here so I could use it as an example of one thing that FC needs to remove, and it would be the easiest thing. They've had a lot more difficult issues to deal with, and they've done well, and I have no doubt that even though it will be a difficult thing to overcome, they will be able to nerf through balls and or come up with a solution to take away that attacking power that makes 4-2-1-3 so much better than all of the other setups. Now, if you're wondering, well, if it's just the powerful through balls that make the 4-2-1-3 so dangerous, why not use a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1 wide or narrow or 4-4-2, just any setup? Because if it's through balls, you can use those in anything. It's not just the through balls, though. It's the way the through balls connect with the perfect runs from the 4-2-1-3 attackers. It just works like a puzzle piece. They fit perfectly in the gaps. In other setups, while it does have attackers making dangerous runs that you can send them through and you will have success with it, you won't have 4 attackers all making those perfect runs every single time. And if you do want to play football to the feet, you have so many options there as well, just with natural triangles, natural give and go, natural up, back, and through setups all over the pitch that also make it so difficult to defend. That is the main issue, is that you combine the powerful through balls with the type of runs in the 4-2-1-3. So nerfing those through balls, as well as making other attacking options more powerful, is what will take care of the 4-2-1-3 and make it to where maybe I don't want to utilize this because I'm getting caught playing through balls every time and getting countered, or I just can't break down the defense with the way this attack is working. The same way that the 4-2-1-3 wasn't utilized at first because it wasn't meta. Now that the game has gone in the direction it has gone, with the most important factor being the nerfed AI defense and the corrected spacing. There's no longer that cluster in the defense that essentially just blocked off every passing lane, especially through ball passing lanes. Because that has been fixed, it created a new issue where the 4-2-1-3 just has these perfect open gaps for all the attackers. So that is the exact area EA Sports needs to attack to make it to where every, or at least more, formations and tactical setups can be just as powerful if used correctly. So in conclusion, do I think EA Sports can make this fix? I actually know they can. Do I think they will make this fix? And more particularly, do I think they'll make it before FC26 comes out? That is where I am 50-50. In the past, I would have said, no way, we're going to have to deal with it for at least another year, maybe longer. But because of how EA Sports reacted when the game was in the gutter and they totally changed everything with their major update and then actually listened to the player base with better rewards and certain things like that, because of that, I truly think that they will see where this is going and really focus on making it a priority so players aren't driven away simply because they are sick of just using the 4-2-1-3 and attacking in the same way, as well as being sick of playing against the 4-2-1-3. But only time will tell what EA Sports will do. It is super unpredictable. Let's just cross our fingers and hope for the best, because I truly think with this fix, the gameplay will be so far ahead of any game in the franchise in recent years. We will all be happy. Now that leaves, and this is for a whole nother conversation, the server issues / inconsistent gameplay that many believe is due to an outdated engine. Who knows if and when they will fix that, but at least on the gameplay side, if they fix this 4-2-1-3 issue, we can be confident that despite the past, EA Sports has learned their lesson and is now willing to proactively fix these game-ruining issues. So let me know what you think of the 4-2-1-3, if it is as big of a problem as I said, or if you think it's fine, if you have another solution that I might not have talked about. And as always, keep grinding, keep having fun. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and join our Discord. The link is in the bio. I will see you on the next one. Peace out.